So, hello everyone, and welcome once again to Books for My Soul, Meet the Author, where we meet our favorite authors and we get to interact with them. Today we have with us Clara Muruga, who is a mother, she is a wife, she is an author, and she's also in ministry. And we'll be talking to her about all these sections of her life, but in particular about her beautiful book, A Woman of Noble Character. Welcome, Clara.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
So we're so excited to have you with us today. And you know, Clara, when you first brought your book to Books for My Soul, I went through it and I thought it was just a powerful book. And I must tell you, Clara, it's been one of the bestsellers on this platform. So you're doing a wonderful job. And so that's why I thought it would be great to have this conversation with you today. And I went back to your book. And I remember reading about how the book came to be when you were in your early 20s and you read Proverbs 31, and you say you had read it before, but for some reason, it really stood out to you at that time. And you read it once, you read it twice, you memorized it. And, you know, so I just wanted to ask you, Clara, how at that age of your early 20s, what caused you to really start thinking about Proverbs 31 and how to be a noble woman? And in fact, you mentioned that you were a single young girl at that time. I mean, what caused you to begin to think through Proverbs 31? Because this is what the book is based on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, growing up, actually, my mother is a retired nurse as we speak. And because she loved God, she always loved being around mission hospitals, serving in mission hospitals. So what that happened is, especially the last station where she stayed the longest, we lived around missionaries. And because we lived around missionaries, there was also a library of books where I had opportunity to read. And a lot of stories that I read had a lot to do with women, pioneer women, Christian women. And you know, as a child, the way you admire that pioneer life and how they made it, even through the difficult seasons of winter, you know, and so that brought a fascination about womanhood to me quite early in life. So when I came across Proverbs 31, as you can tell, it just captured my heart. And for some reason, it stayed with me, especially when I got born again, just desiring to be that kind of a woman, because I had interacted with those women in books and, of course, some of the missionaries. And yeah, I would say that's where my interest began.
And what's so interesting is that you were not even born again at the time, you know, which shows, you know, really how powerful the word of God is, right?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, and you know, I must confess, Clara, before this interview, I went back to read Proverbs 31, and I was so impressed, you know, once again, you know, this lady is a woman of character. You know, it says that she is more precious than rubies. She's hardworking. She honors her husband. She is kind to her workers, you know. Her husband and children call her blessed. I know, Clara, I said, me, I want to be this woman, you know.
That was my prayer, my cry, those early years.
Yeah, and you know, you highlight in your book that there are so many competing voices. There's the voice of our culture. There's the voice of feminism. You know, can you comment on that? I mean, how do we get young women or even women who are probably already in marriage and raising children to refocus on Proverbs 31 because it's the truth, you know?
Yeah, I think one of the realities I have had to face is that in this world, there is no gray area. It's either white or black or the light or darkness. So you're either on the side of the light, which is the side of God, or you're on the side of darkness, which is the side of the enemy. So basically, we are getting influenced by these forces, and especially, of course, the enemy comes to steal, kill, and destroy. So he will come up with all sorts of ways to help us get distracted from the purposes of God for us as women. No wonder then you will see the feminism movement causing us to think, just causing a dissatisfaction in us concerning being the women that God wants us to be. And so I have found that with these realities around us, unless one is awake to this reality, you're actually going to miss your best. So that's why I would desire, and that's why I was writing the book, that women would understand this and trust the Lord to refocus, to look back, to focus on God, who is the light, and the one who has the whole truth, and to focus on his will for the woman and for their womanhood, because that's the only way we will experience fulfillment as women.
That's right. I was so glad to read in your book about, these different voices. Personally, when I was in my early 20s, I think I consumed too much of what was available out there. And in fact, by my marriage story, I'm like, I went into marriage, the thought of being a woman of noble character, Proverbs 31 woman was farthest from mind, I got into marriage with, what you can do, I can do even better.
Wow,
and I soon, and I soon realized, especially when I began drawing closer to God, that God has such a special place for women, far above our culture, our education, the feminist movement, what it offers us. I mean, it's just so much more. And so I'm so glad that this book is available to women. And even more than that, I'm aware that you're doing a program for young women and even women who are probably not in their 20s or even 30s, to talk to them about this. Maybe you can tell us a bit more about that program.
Yeah, so this program developed out of, maybe just to go back a little, I joined a Christian organization as a young intern, just serving the Lord, getting to clarify his will and purpose over my life. And one of the things we had to do was to disciple young girls on campus or college, the college or campus that was nearest to you. And so I grew in that. And one of the things, the topics we had to deal with, of course, was biblical womanhood. And we used to use a book by an American writer that went out of stock. That's partly why I wrote this book, actually, in the long run. So as I grew working with younger women in this understanding biblical womanhood, that's how this book was born. And then now during the COVID-19, actually God used one of the girls I have worked with to challenge me to start the program. And so this is a program online that focuses on biblical womanhood. And like you're saying, returning women back to an understanding of womanhood as God intended in every area of their lives. And of course, as you know, you probably know this, that anytime you sit down to develop a training or a course, there's a way God gives you even more insight and understanding into the same. So that's why that's what we are doing, targeting women of married, single, and just trusting the Lord to stand against this attack of the enemy on womanhood and help women return back to the biblical understanding of womanhood through this program.
Amazing. Yes. And when you say returning back to a biblical understanding, it is so rich. I mean, if we only could understand how God sees us as women, I mean, everything else would pale in comparison. And so, I'm so excited about the book and the program. And you were sharing some details. What are the charges for the program? Explain a little more detail. I know it's a 12-week course, online and offline. What are the charges for it?
Yeah, so the charges for the one online is 2,000 Kenya shillings, inclusive of the book that I've written, as well as a workbook that we are working with. And then we have the physical sessions that we do, especially among students. So for the students, we have subsidized it to half the price so that we can have as many young women also embrace this before they get into the world of confusion out there.
You know, Clara,
Yes, so
I wish you had been there in my campus days, to rescue me from, all that material that was out there that was leading me in the wrong path entirely. And I can tell you it was the wrong path. So let's see the book if you have a copy, because all this is based on this beautiful, beautiful book. Yeah.
So there we go.
Yeah, A Woman of Noble Character. What is the subtitle there?
How can I become one?
How can I become one? Exactly. This is it. I mean, this is the question you were asking yourself when you were younger. Amazing. Amazing. And we can expect to pick it up at how much on the platform, on Books for My Soul?
On the platform, you can pick it at 400 Kenya shillings. Yeah, but of course, if it's a physical copy, it's 500.
So Books for My Soul ebook at 400, physical at 500 shillings. And if you'd like a copy, just head on down to Books for My Soul and get yourself a copy, or contact Clara through her social media. I know she's very active on social media. I follow her YouTube channel, and you can be able to contact her and get more detail. I'm particularly excited about this book because it touches me personally, just remembering where I was many years ago as a young woman getting into womanhood. It would definitely have rescued me from a lot of unnecessary potholes. Yeah. So get yourself a copy, and maybe Clara, give us a few parting words, and how perhaps they can sign up if they'd like to take the book further into the program.
Yeah, so on the posters that are online, there's a number there that they can call. But also, if you go on any of my handles, Instagram is Formations of a Noble Woman. That's the username. And you can DM me on Facebook. It's Clara Karushi. If you just DM me, I can give you the details. But of course, the posters are there on my handles, and you can just call me on the number that is right there.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you so much, Clara. It's been such a joy speaking to you today. I'll definitely go back and go through your book once again, because it still applies even to me so many years into marriage and into trying to find myself, as that Proverbs 31 woman. And we'd be glad to call you again. I know you're still writing a few more books. Yeah, so most welcome. And meantime, please go on to Books for My Soul, get yourself a copy of Clara's book, A Woman of Noble Character, at only 400 shillings. Thank you so much, Clara. Thank you, everyone, and God bless you.
Thank you for having me.